Time now for Coming In Hot with Brent Wallace, former Ottawa Senator Jason York, and Sean Simpson.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Coming In Hot. Brent Wallace, Sean Simpson, Jason York. Guys, it's game day, and Linus Ullmark is in goal. And probably Yorkie, you shot an 81 today. I don't know.
Tough day. Windy today out there, Wally. It was tough conditions. So I'm Linus. I'll guarantee you this much. Linus will play better tonight than I did this morning. Take that one to the bank, boys.
Well, I think it's an alumni game for him because I believe he did play games in Rochester. So that's basically what we're going to see. We're going to see half a game. And hey, I'm an optimistic person, but I'm combing through that lineup. And I don't even care about what Buffalo's bringing. We knew that wasn't going to be much. But from an Ottawa perspective, I'm like, okay, there's about 9 guys playing tonight that are probably looking at 2 jobs. So that's the way I'm going to kind of approach tonight's game for, what are a lot of guys that are probably going to be cut and probably be on waivers in the next couple of weeks.
So so we know or explain, the Sabres, as I said the other day, are in Europe. So they've taken most of their roster with them. They were granted an exemption by the National Hockey League to use a roster that may not qualify for preseason rules. In fact,
I don't even think it would qualify for the American Hockey League as far as restrictions on veterans.
There's 3 guys in the roster that played in the National Hockey League last season. Some have played before. I think it adds up to 13 games last season or something of NHL games. But regardless, it's happened before. This isn't the first time it's happened. So we will see how this goes for the Ottawa Senators. And by the way, I think it helps Ottawa. If we take a look at the lineup, Ottawa is not a veteran-laden lineup either, right? They're trying to see some key players. Cole Reinhardt playing again. Jan Yannick is in. Ostapchuk's getting another shot. There's a lot of guys. I think Zach McEwen's another one. And then Clevin and Yakimchuk paired together is interesting. They're going to see a lot of ice time too. It's an interesting lineup for Ottawa as well.
Yeah, local defenseman Donovan Sabrango getting another game. That's pretty good because I remember when he came over, he was in the East Coast League for a bit, so he's made a nice little. What always helps when you fight in your first game and you do something to get noticed, but
and score.
And scored a nice goal as well. So whatever it is, what it is. What are you gonna do? It's how many games in total are the Sens playing in preseason this year, Wally?
7.
So 7. Yeah. So this is like an AHL game and a good game for Linus Ullmark to get feeling the puck again.
Yeah, and also just nice to see him jump right in. We've seen some goaltenders, and I have flashbacks of Matt Murray. Any little injury that he had, basically needing another week or 10 days of practice before he'd be interested in playing a game. So great to see him hop in. And let's face facts, just by the words of Coach Green today. This is an encore or a show, for a lot of guys. And then they're going to get down to business, get down to not the entire roster. So they've got 4 games, including Hockeyville, coming up, I believe, on Sunday. But it's realistically for a lot of guys would be taking the approach tonight is that this might be my last opportunity to make some noise here and try to earn a roster spot.
Well, before you go any further, let's just get to Travis Green post practice this morning.
I think maybe a little bit of frustration that he hasn't been able to be in practice fully every day. He's been on the ice a lot. I don't know if I think maybe he missed 1 day on the ice, but he skated on his own with Petey and had put in a lot of hard work. I think for any player, they get excited to get into a game and practice. They get sick of practicing, quite honest. And for us as a staff and for him too, we want to see our players in games, and he wants to play. Well, I think if you look at our lineup tonight, there's some guys that are trying to make the team, quite honestly. And I don't talk personally to them about that. They know that, and you hope they all play well, and you got tough decisions to make at the end of the day. Well, we're going to play fast. We're not going to cheat and leave the zone, I can tell you that. But we are going to play fast, and there's a time and place for guys to get out of the zone quick. There's a time and place for guys to round the corner, we like to call it. But we want to be a team that plays fast off our breakouts. We want to play fast in the neutral zone. And to play fast in those areas, you've got to get the puck back. And you got to play fast coming back into your zone as well. And I really truly believe your breakouts, your offense is connected to your forecheck and your D zone coverage. And You can't just be good on breakouts and not good in D-zone coverage, or you're going to be tired when you break the puck out. So we do want to be a team that's fast. When you watch the NHL, it's getting faster and faster every year. But there will be times where I think you're talking about wingers slashing out, and there will be a time and place for that. There'll also be a time and place where you got to win a puck battle and get it out.
So there you go. Cuts are coming after tonight.
That's interesting. He mentioned that twice, eh? Like you won't see guys blow in the zone at a time and a place for slashing out of the zone, because that's been a problem with this team in the past. Why? And I talk about this all the time. Simmer, you mentioned as well. Wall, you mentioned it. Mm-hmm. That space between your defense and your forwards. And when Ottawa would get into trouble in the past, leave the zone too early, turn the puck over, outnumbered rush, bad things happened. Like you said, time and a place. Time and a place is when you got full possession with your D head up and you know you can go. Before, it was like, we're just going and hoping that our slash play works. So you could tell he's watched a lot of tape and figured out what was one of the biggest issues with the Senators, why they've been losing so much. And that's right near the top of the list, Simmer, leaving the zone way too early.
And the other part is, from a personnel standpoint, I mean, I'm having flashbacks to Paul McLean, 200-foot hockey. And, a lot of times they've just not iced the personnel that are capable of it. I appreciate you having a structured unit and this idea of playing fast. You better have fast players. And then the other part for the last 10 years, watching the Ottawa Senators even more, has been second periods. And that's where they ultimately get into trouble, right? As you don't play properly, all of a sudden you're stuck in your own zone. And there have just been some second periods over the years here where they've got completely caved in. So when you go through the lineup tonight, I think the big thing we're looking for is, hey, who can bring that tempo? We certainly have talked about the size. We've talked about some other things, but like I said, just like Ricky Bobby, you want to go fast, you need a fast car.
I want to go fast. I want to go fast. Get a Cougar in there.
Oh, the Cougar in the car is classic. Okay.
Hey, can we flash? Let's flash that lineup up one more time, because Greener said there's a lot of guys in this lineup hoping to make the team. So if you realistically go through this of guys that potentially have an opportunity, obviously you have your guys that are going to be on the team, like a Pinto, and then oh boy, you look after that. Cruikshank's in the mix, and Kuhlman's not making it. It's going to be tough for Goudet. Boucher is going to need another year in the minors. McEwen, he's in the mix, but there's a lot of guys that are in the mix for that one job. So it's be interesting tonight. Janique's in there as well. Ostapchuk is at a great last. Heimer was good. Yeah, it looks to me like they're rewarding guys that have had a good camp so far.
Yeah, and also you look through some of the other spots, a guy like Addison playing for a contract. I don't know how Kuhlman's going to be handled. He mentioned that he's back in North America because his son's playing hockey, but is he willing to commute from Belleville or end up doing something like that? It would seem a bit strange at that age that you'd want to end up doing something like that. And then also just as far as Yakimchuk, how is this going to be handled? And I'm really intrigued to watch these guys play. But as we hear about the Artem Zub, I still think the right side would end up being Jensen, Hamonic, and JBD, which obviously gets the fan base fired up when you talk about Hamonic. But I wonder for Yakimchuk, is this the final night? And then does he head back for Calgary's opener on the weekend?
Yeah. Hamonic's looked good so far, Wally. Hamonic's looked...
Hang on, back to Yakimchuk for a sec. Yeah. They've still got 4 games to play. I mean, they got to go to Sudbury. I don't think we see him... I don't think we see him sent home anytime soon. I think they want him around this group. Playing in Calgary at the opener or whatever in the dub isn't that big a deal.
I'm of two minds. Simmer brought up last show that it's nice to get there from day one and do that, but it's also, I'm a big believer in you get better being with better players, and the longer you can sponge from these guys, day in and day out, practice habits, tempo, how you practice, you just learn so many new things. So I'm a big believer in keep him here as long as you can, but definitely not keep him here for the season.
Yeah, and you know what? Hey, guys, if he stays for the weekend, and as you said, Wally plays some games, it's not the end of the world. I'm just philosophically looking at a guy that's a big leader for Calgary, captain, going to go back and have a monster year. But no, hey, if you stay through and play the Sudbury game, maybe hang around, see what ends up happening. But when you're really getting down to business, you're figuring out, okay, where is Hamonic, which I totally agree. And I wish the fan base would be a little more open-minded and actually watch the games, because I thought he looked really good. And so just keep an open mind on some of these players. But what are you going to do with Addison? Where is JBD at? So keeping him around is awesome. But I also want to get reps to the guys that are actually in the mix to make the team. That's the only thing. But having them for a weekend, as you said, Wally, no big deal.
They are battling an issue, or I guess Artem Zub is battling an issue right now, a lower body injury. He's not skating. Asked today about an update. Didn't have one from Travis Green. So maybe there is an extra spot available early on here. Not that it's for Carter Yakimchuk. I'm just saying going to be maybe some extra D being around here until Artem Zub is either healthy or they need to find someone to put in that spot.
Who's Yakimchuk playing with tonight? I didn't notice when he flashed up.
Nice.
Okay, so this will be interesting because play with a veteran his first night, and oftentimes in your defenseman, it does really help who your partner is. Like,
I don't know. Are we calling Tyler Clevin a veteran?
No, I'm just going to say in Hamonic's game where he played really well, he did play with Jake Sanderson, who is an automatic breakout, and but he's had nice chemistry with him in the past. So this will be interesting because you're going to have a chaotic Buffalo lineup that's going to be running around like crazy, little more unstructured game. It's actually going to be a tougher game for young defensemen to play in versus that Toronto game, because all the Toronto guys were floating around. Nobody wanted to get hit. It was a no-hitter. So you're automatically working. Now you're going to be playing against a team where a bunch of young guys that are trying to prove themselves for pecking order when they go down to the minors. So it's going to be a tough game to play for a defenseman, because it's going to be a lot of guys are not going to be in the spots they're supposed to be in. So, and that's sometimes a lot more difficult.
I also wouldn't just overestimate it. I mean, we're kind of putting down. I'm going to have my hockey database open tonight to see who these players are for Buffalo. But hey, a lot of these guys on the Ottawa Senators are minor league players. Tyler Clevin's played 1 year pro. Yakimchuk is a 19-year-old junior. So this idea that they're going to suddenly come out and just dominate, they're going to be fired up for sure. As I guess they're playing for jobs in Rochester. But there are a number of players that are, again, flat out on that roster that are going to end up in the American Hockey League.
Simmer, you're going to be in your Spartacat jammies, not paying one little iota to who Buffalo is icing.
Oh, I agree. No, I don't disagree. It was just funny when the roster was posted today. I was just like, wow, that's how out of touch you become after a while when you're following just the National Hockey League. Yeah. There aren't even any of the high end prospects. There wasn't a single name that I kind of really stood out. No, my focus will be completely on Ottawa. There's no doubt about that. I'm just maybe giving a little love to the good old Rochester Americans.
We do have something entertaining. By the way, Carter Yakimchuk will turn 19 on the 29th, which I think is that Sunday. So we'll be able to keep saying he's 19 after Sunday. I don't know what the gift is. Maybe the gift is to play in the Sudbury game. Interesting tonight going into the game. So they're going to split Linus Ullmark and Dustin Tokarski half and half-ish. Ullmark will start. Yeah. So if you're the Buffalo Sabres, you're coming down the ice shooting on Dustin Tokarski, who is completely decked out in Buffalo Sabres gear, because that's where he's from.
I had no idea, by the way, until yesterday. I'm like, when did Tokarski get here?
They signed him on day one.
I saw the videos of him and Ullmark flipping pucks on the net. Man, he's got a nice little saucer pass. He was a high-end prospect for a while, fellas. Like, he's a pretty good little goalie. He just it hasn't really worked out for him. But no. That could be a nice little guy to play in the minors, potentially with Sogard, depending else who's down there.
Yeah. But, the things that do stand out, though, you guys touched on the gear, but the other thing that does stand out is we're just so used to now. Like they're talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs goaltenders the other night, and you got a 6'6" and 6'7". We're almost getting to the point where if you're 6'4", you look average. All of a sudden, Tokarski's in there.
It looks like a Smurf.
It does. He just looks so tiny. But he's familiar with these different guys, and like I said, an opportunity to give him a game. And to your point, also with the goaltending, that will be interesting because I'm wondering philosophically whether or not they think, hey, have Sogard in the A, have Tokarski there. They're going to have a hell of a team, I believe, on paper in Belleville, and put Marilainen down in the East Coast Hockey League to play. I could see that totally happening because I'm trying to keep looking and understanding why he'd be here on a PTO. And I would think philosophically that's some thought, not to mention that both Sogard and Maryline, they have battled the injuries. Right? I mean, they have not had a ton of health in Belleville,
Well,
much like here in
was hurt
Ottawa.
to
So it's a
start.
bit of an insurance policy.
One of the reasons they brought in Tokarski on the PTO is Maryline was hurt to start camp.
Yeah.
And Tokarski, by the way, 35 years old, 80 games of NHL experience, and then a plethora of AHL experience. Little known fact, my son has a Dustin Tokarski goalie stick in his room.
Wow. How do you lock up that gem? That was on eBay for $15.
I don't know. I don't know how it happened.
Right?
He just when he signed, he's like, I have a Tokarski. So I think it might have like the blade might be broken, but still together. And so I think that might be, I don't know. But yeah, I'm like, how did you come across that thing? Anyway, so I'll see if Tokarski maybe wants it back.
I remember watching him in Montreal.
Yes.
They were kind of high on him for a bit. Like he was, he had that little window was open for a sec, and then all of a sudden it shuts, and then you wake up and you're 35.
Yes. So he was traded
Crazy.
from Tampa to Montreal for Cedric Desjardins. And then he got traded to Anaheim, and then he got traded to Philly, and then signed by the Rangers, then signed by the Sabres, signed by the Penguins, signed by the Sabres. So I don't mind him. Like I don't know. He's looked fine in camp. I'm curious to see how he plays tonight. That would be interesting.
Well, you got an experienced veteran for the American Hockey League. Based on that rotation that you just mentioned, if I'm him and I'm anybody handling him, I'm going white gear. I'm I'm not locking in any colors. It was almost like, what was the big Swede that was here last year for Ottawa that I think played like 1 year? What's that?
It wasn't Hellberg. I think Hellberg was like 2 or 3 years ago.
But the other fellow there, and he locked in the new gear. He was here for about a week, and then he was off to the next stop. So, like I said, I'd recommend a more of a white package, a white kit, versus necessarily going with any of the team colors.
The only 3 last year were Korpisalo, Forsberg, and Sogard. I think it was 2 years ago. I feel like
2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, it is Hellberg.
That's when they had the 7, right? I think it was Hellberg. He played the 1 game, and then Dylan Ferguson played 2. That's the year they used.
There's been so many goalies like since when you're a bad team for a long time, you just go through goalies like crazy. It's nuts.
Yes.
Well, not to mention the lack of reliability with Matt Murray. I mean, that was just that was one of those ones where you show up to the rink every day and just wondering whether or not he's going to play. I mean, out of nowhere. Not to mention that start he had against Ottawa, where he all of a sudden pulled the shoot in warm-up. So, yeah, there have been a lot of inconsistent play, and there's been a lot of injuries at the same time.
I love that saying, by the way. It's one of the best hockey sayings. Pull the shoot. It's just parachute out of here.
Well, the only reason I use that term is that the way that went down and understanding if you're the goaltender partner for somebody like that, how pissed off you are, right? Because it's like, hey, listen, I've done nothing all day. I didn't take a nap, probably didn't eat properly. And then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, the fella, and of all things, to end up playing your former team. And then all of a sudden, the old chute gets pulled, and all of a sudden Samsonov has to go in for duty.
Never.
Oh, boy.
Also playing in tonight's game, Shane Pinto, who will center that top line. Interesting, they are going to put Tyler Boucher on that line, and Angus Crookshank. I think Angus Crookshank's had a great camp. He is completely noticeable every time, either in a game or in practice.
You on Crook? Are you off the holiday train now, and you're in the Crook train?
So Halliday to make the team was an outside chance, right?
Yeah.
And he needs another year. Yeah, he needs time in the A. It's become more and more obvious as the time's gone on. Like, nothing against him. I think he has shown moments, but Angus Crookshank, I just think that he is ready to make that step. He's a pain in the ass. I think he's really good on that wing. We shall see if he's going to stick. But here is, after practice, Mr. Shane Pinto, who, by the way, is always entertaining.
I think my body's starting to get into it. It's feeling good. And, second game here. And, should be good. It's going to keep on getting better, I feel like.
Would you describe how different this season feels to last year?
Yeah, it's been great. I think, obviously, last year was tough for me. And but, just having this year, no distraction, just worry about hockey. It's just nice to have, honestly. I think it's going to be around the boys early, get some chemistry going. And but, definitely better than last season for sure. Yeah, it's feeling good. Hopefully I could take a big step here, this year. But, Yeah, I'm not worried about that too much. I think I'm just gonna get into these preseason games, try to get my game up to par for October 10th, and then see where that takes me. I mean, I have personal goals, but I probably won't tell you that. So, but yeah, no, I have some personal goals, but yeah, I'm gonna keep that to myself probably. Yeah, I think there's a different level of confidence. I think coming into camp this year, I think we have a bit more of a belief in this group. I think, obviously with the addition of the veterans, that'll help a lot, but yeah, just a more of a confidence, I think, coming into camp. I definitely feel that throughout the, first week for sure.
Shane Pinto, always entertaining.
Always good, always energetic, always positive. Energy guy. He energizes your locker room. No, it's good for Pinto though. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago where he missed so much time, came back in the middle of the year, so you could tell he's fired up, and that's going to be a huge difference for the start too. Like having, especially if Norris is good to go here, having a fully healthy unit to start the season with all hands on deck. So. Fingers crossed for the group, because there's always something as camp goes on. Something always happens. It's just
Josh Norris is
it's just the way it is. It's the way it is.
Yeah, no, and in the case of Pinto, I even appreciate when people, because I could see situations not only here in Ottawa, but in the past where media would be told not to ask about last year. And they're like, well, what's the difference from last year? Well, last year I was suspended for 41 games. I mean, there's a big difference, but he just kind of has a laugh. And when we had him on, he talked about playing on the power play. If I'm him, I'm totally on a bridge deal. And we'll see where Norris is at, but I'm realistically looking and saying, hey, I want to be the second line center for the Ottawa Senators. I want to push things offensively. I want to just be happy being a third line player and a checker. So, no, I love the smile, the energy, having him back. And let's face facts here, guys. If all we're talking about is Artem Zub's lower body injury, and certainly Josh Norris is a big story, but last year were the bombshells of Dadonov, the Pinto thing came out of absolutely nowhere, where you're trying to understand what the hell is going on. I mean, we've been able to keep it to hockey. There haven't been a lot of distractions. And as you said, York, you just love his energy. You know what I mean? It's just something very sincere, and there's a very quiet confidence to him going into the year on a bridge deal.
100%. Was that footage compliments of Wally vision, by the way?
All footage in today's show is provided by Wally Vision.
That was a good angle. He can zip that puck, eh? That gets off there in a hurry from the slot. And that's that little play they have, eh? With Giroux and Pinto have some really nice chemistry. When Giroux kind of sleeks down that board and Pinto bumps up to the high slot, that's a nice little set play. That those two, when they were on power play, whatever, let's call it power play 2 together, they've got some great chemistry. And that's going to be, again, not a huge story, but where the power play, like who's on power play 1, who's on power play 2, because you got a lot of options, right? There's a lot of guys that can do it. You got 2 quarterbacks, because they're going to go 4 forwards. Who are those 4 forwards going to be? Who goes on the second unit? So it'll be interesting. But I do like Giroux and Pinto together. They seem to be able to find each other quite often.
Yeah, and also just forward, when you look at a guy like Pinto, when you've seen his goals guys off the years here, most of them from Ottawa, it feels like most of them have been off the rush and from the high slot, and you got to have a hell of a shot. And then the other thing from a power play standpoint that I still kind of curious to see with Norris and how it's handled, they don't really have a bomb. Like, they don't really have the one player that sets up for the one-timer. So that's, as you said, Yorkie, that might be a slot or a spot. And I'm not saying it's power play 1, but at least an opportunity, because they got a lot of skill. They got some guys that can certainly move it around and shoot the puck, but they don't have that one player that necessarily has the hammer either from the back end or from the half wall.
They really something I really caught on to last year was that I like Batherson on my first power play, because I just think he's so good with the puck. Those little bumper plays they can do down low, where Batherson's on the goal line, when Kachuk's your net front guy, he can pop out to the slot. A lot of different options. Norris and Batherson, Batherson is able to slide that puck across to the 1T. So it'll be interesting, because Giroux, on most teams in the NHL, Claude Giroux is a power play 1 guy. But because what you said there with needing the shot over there, it probably slides into the second power play.
Where does David Perron fit in that?
I could see David. Like, for me, I would probably see a Perron as your net front guy on unit 2, and probably a Pinto and a Giroux and a Sanderson. And then, I'd probably have Sanderson on my first power play, the way he's moving right now. So you have Chabot on your point, and then you got one other forward you have to add into the mix there. So, it could be a Ridley Gregg, could be.
Are you putting Josh Norris on your first power play unit?
Well, you need that shot. That's the thing.
Okay.
Like you need. So if I look at so this is how coaches do it. Obviously, Tkachuk is on your power play one. He is your net front guy. He's going to disturb and he's going to be able to come up and down. But then it's based on on how guys' hands are. So if you want to do that bumper play, you need a right shot because Tkachuk's a lefty, so you need a right shot on that goal. So you could put Giroux down there, but that's not where Giroux does his best work. He's more a half wall guy. So automatically that guy has to be Batherson. And then because you have Batherson over there, you need a shot over there. So if Tkachuk's down, you slide over, and that your best option's Norris. It's just the way the stick's set up, and the way they set up. To me, it looks like those three guys are up there, and then you got Timmy who's going to be distributing on the one side, right? And then you put Sanders. That would
And the only thing,
it's crazy that Giroux is such a great passer.
Oh God, yeah.
Like I'd love to find a spot, but I just don't know where you put him on that first unit.
Yeah, and there wouldn't have been many teams, and it's not nothing. He's been a great free agent signing, but there would not have been many teams that would have approached to sign him without the thought of having him on the first power play.
I know.
And also to that, my biggest pet peeve, and I've said this many times over the years, and all of a sudden they did put DeBrincat in the spot. I don't find Stützle to be that effective on that half wall as a left shot, left side. I don't think that gives him any options. The seam pass isn't opened up. The one-timer isn't. When you walk off of the wall right there, most times you're looking at a real tough shooting angle. So for me, that's always been, and I'll go back to my good friend Adam Oates back in the day running it off the half wall. It just such a different look and a feel to it. And that to me is that in a perfect world, it doesn't really matter on the defenseman. But I'd have try to have at least the right shot on the left half wall and
so think about that.
Left shot on the right side.
Think about
what's that?
Like it's crazy how the sticks line up, right? So really, when we're talking about it, that guy should probably be Giroux in Stützle's spot when you really think about it, because you have a right shot, you got a left shot. The only thing the left shot gives you is you're able to slide it down to the bumper guy because the right guy sticks in the middle of the ice. Yeah. So you get around that play, and Ottawa's really good. I wish I had a little blackboard here because we're seeing things in our mind here, but no, it's I agree. Like Stützle has to become more of a shooting threat on the power play. And I'm sure he's worked on it over the summer. So I'll be interested to see how he's shooting the puck once they get the full units together, because you have to have a threat over there who's going to shoot the puck. Otherwise, people will cheat.
All right. I didn't know if Simmer had a follow-up. So then if Josh Norris doesn't start the season, who fills that? Now, by the way, who fills that spot? But before that, Travis Green did say, I'm not sure how he would word this any differently anyway. He was asked about if he would only have one power play unit or have two. And he was like, typically I like to run two. Does that mean some guys won't be out for a minute 20? Yes. But he says typically he'd like to keep it to a minute each. We'll see how that plays out during the year.
Yeah,
if you're scoring after the first 5 seconds, it won't matter, right?
No, and if Norris isn't in, hey, the simple part for me, and this is where I thought Stützle, and I'm not going to go, I've used the term Joe Sack a couple of times, but I'd run him off the right half wall. I'd have Batherson down low, Sanderson or Chabot running it, and then absolutely it would be Giroux and Tkachuk on the left side. That would be simple and actually probably be a better fit. But I think Timmy is effective when he can come off of that off wing with some tempo, with some speed, and the ability to shoot the puck. And like I said, that's just not there when you're playing on the natural side.
It was fun to watch them the other night as a power play.
They're good,
They just zipped the puck around like
the
mid-season.
The Toronto PK, look, if you look at the guys that were out there, they had no clue what they were doing. They were trying to be aggressive, and it's like, oh my God, they're like a little mouse chasing the cheese. Just not getting
well, and we also know you can't practice power play in practice, right? I mean, nothing works. Like nothing makes any sense. Yeah. So at least when you're getting the reps, and as a coaching staff, at least it's an opposition team, and they're not the best players in the world, but it at least gives you some options and some feel. And just like the Coach Green talked about, you want to play fast on the power play. I mean, that's one of the things in the past that they've certainly had a lot of skill, but at times I think they could have been a little more creative and just played with a little bit more tempo.
And there was Sorry, they didn't get. I just going to refer to today. Travis Green asked about that. He's like, we haven't had a lot of time to work on it. We will get down to that once we start getting some numbers down. That they will get into special teams probably on Monday.
And the nice thing too this season is they went out and signed a bunch of guys that are not power play guys that are going to be like not like they've done in the past. Certain cat.
Who are you referring to?
The cat. So yeah, no, it was like pieces were brought in that you actually need instead of bringing in a power play guy to go to an already good power play.
Yeah, and even having a guy like Brantstrom, I mean, he's not turned out to be anything what we thought he was when the trade was made, but having him as kind of a skilled guy turned into a defensive defenseman in your third pairing, that is such a different look having Clevin in there and such an important change. I mean, that side, as good as Sanderson is as a young player, and then you mix it in with Chabot and Brantstrom, it just wasn't hard enough to play against.
I was about to say poor Brantstrom, but no, he's in the NHL. It's not that bad. It's just, imagine him though, high first round pick. He's traded for Mark Stone. So you think you're going to come to a team and get an opportunity to do what you do best. But if you rewind to what happened, it was actually Jake Sanderson. Like nobody saw Sanderson getting that good that quick because he ended up taking all the offensive looks that Brantstrom would have got. Mm-hmm. And then Brantstrom, it's like, okay, we got this guy. What are you going to do with him? Well, I guess he's a penalty killer now. Well, he's 5'8". It doesn't matter. He's got to play somewhere. And so it was just a terrible, terrible fit for him here in Ottawa. Hopefully in Colorado, he gets a chance to get on the second unit and do what he does best, which is offense, not defense.
I would wonder when you have a Cale Makar and Gerard, though, I'm wondering where the hell that happens, but maybe they want to play with tempo. The other part with Brantstrom, to be honest with you, though, inside the offensive zone and as far as thinking the game, we'd see the odd rush against some of the weaker teams, but the part that was missing in his game was there was no dynamic ability. Like I thought they were trading for like a Quinn Hughes, and I'm not saying as good as Quinn Hughes, but I thought, hey, this guy's going to be a guy that's just going to be flying around the ice. And that wasn't the case for him, so I don't know where he really fits. And as far as Colorado, I was a little surprised because the formula for them doing well and winning the Stanley Cup was actually having more size on the back end versus bringing in another small defenseman.
You know what it is, though? Like when you're a player and you come into a situation, you can sense if there's a lot of love around there for you and how it's working. Like when let's be honest, when Quinn Hughes went into Vancouver, he was set up right away to have success. And he has the skill, he has all the talent. But if you don't get that confidence right away and know everyone's, obviously Dorian was behind Brantstrom, but the coaching staff was like, well, we're not playing this guy. And like, come on, like it's just, you just know. And then all of a sudden you don't have the confidence and it's amazing. It was just, anyways, it was a bad fit from the beginning.
Yeah, and it was a forced fit. To your point there, I mean, that would be the last type of player that a DJ Smith would want in his third pairing. But when you've made that big of a trade, and then just the negativity he had to deal with, and it's almost like Tyler Boucher, Wally, like it's nothing personal to the player, but it's unfortunate in the world we live in today. Hey, welcome to the National Hockey League. I mean, people are going to critique, they're going to be critical. And just with the downside of Dorian and kind of how negative the market turned, Brantstrom became one of those poster childs, not to mention Mark Stone being so beloved and all of a sudden going to Vegas and winning a Stanley Cup. It was just all stacked up where him getting a fresh start. And I wonder for Boucher, we'll see how the year goes. But sometimes the players just got to get out from underneath that. Forget about a big trade. Forget about being a high pick. Just go somewhere and play. Nobody in Colorado knows who Brantstrom is, knows that he was part of a big trade. So he's going there and he's got a nice clean slate.
How did we hijack the show and put it on Brantstrom? We think we've talked to him. Wally's just, you could see the steam coming in his ears right now. It's what the hell's going on here?
I'm just waiting for you two to stop talking. Okay. Let's do it, TJ. This show is always proudly presented by Betway. Proud partner of Coming In Hot. Open an account today with Bet365 and bet on a huge range of markets. So whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary, just like this show at Bet365. Use code DAILY365. Make sure to download the app. Must be 19 years of age or older. Please play responsibly.
Well, and this wonderful show of ours is also brought to you by BEI, Bonisher Excavating. If you're looking up to spruce up your place for some curb appeal, then BEI is who you got to call. And you can get a hold of them at 613-432-1120 or visit them on the web at bonisherexcavating.com. You can also they can hook you up with some topsoil sales, and you can rent some equipment from them. BEI is helping to shape the Ottawa Valley. Please slow down in construction zones.
All right. We alluded to it earlier. Let's just get to the Simmer survey. I didn't tell TJ to come in.
Hear ye, hear ye.
There we are, Yorkie and myself just on Spark Street. Now, I was trying to come up with things, and I actually thought he would be playing tonight. But in my survey, how many exhibition games will Josh Norris play? 1, 2, or 3? Well, let's face some simple facts here. As of after tonight, which he's not playing, they're going to be down to 4 games. So I'm going to go with the mushy middle guys. I'm going to go a little Hockeyville, and I'm going to go with 1 more game. So I'll end up going with 2 games. What say you, Yorkie?
Well, I was thinking the same, but just to be different, I will go 3. He'll play 3 out of the next 4 because he's got to get going, get in the mix here, and get himself in the game shape.
All right. What about you, Wally?
2 is easy, but I mean, I don't know where this is at right now with Josh.
You pulling the fire alarm with 1?
Yeah.
There's no way he plays 1 game. Like they're not going to string. They're not because they're not going to string this out till the last game. Like the guy himself mentally. If you say, hey, we're going to hold you out until basically October or whatever the game is against the Montreal Canadiens, you're going to get 1 game to get your timing back, and all of a sudden the regular season starts. I just don't see it. And again, if he's not healthy, then maybe it's 0.
Wally wants chaos. Wally wants chaos.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on a sec.
Imagine the rest of training camp, though, that he just keeps practicing and keeps doing everything. It's like, okay, you're finally going to make your debut in the final preseason game in camp. I just can't see that happening. But who knows? I don't know enough about his shoulder.
Then you missed all of last year as camp because they said he was 100% healthy in camp and cleared, and then it became they somehow flipped this onto Josh that Josh didn't want to play, he wasn't ready to play, didn't feel right, whatever. But he was apparently healthy and cleared to play and didn't start the season.
But he was also wearing a non-contact last year at camp, I believe.
For some of it, yeah. But
he's had the contact.
But he said, but Travis Green and Steve Stais both said, if I'm not mistaken, he is cleared and ready.
Okay.
He is 100%.
No
Josh Norris said he was 100%. So I don't know what the issue is, and nobody wants to answer it. They just keep saying there's a plan. Well, no one understands the plan because you want to have arguably your second best center playing in a game.
Yeah.
Well, tonight
I certainly do. And then the other part, when you go back to last year, Yorkie, the other thing you're answering into is the person paying the bills. I mean, this guy, I know insurance will kick in, and I'd love to see the insurance premium on this guy's shoulder. We're talking about almost an $8 million hockey player. So the decision last year, I think management was just nervous about it as to what the plan is. As Coach Green did, hey, it's kind of secretive as of right now. What that plan is, I'd be curious to know whether or not Josh Norris is aware of how many games, but I've got to think for him, if he's mentally and physically as good as they're talking about, I want to get in at least 2 games. And as you just pointed out, your guy, I wouldn't be shocked if he says, listen, I got to play 3 of the next 4 here to get ready for opening night.
I wonder if Josh knows we've got a survey going. That might get him going here. But Wally, I don't think there's any need to get your wig on fire here. Last year there was, if he's wearing a non-contact jersey right now, then I'm a little nervous. And that's what he had on last year. It was a non-contact jersey, so you knew something was up. We've all watched Wally Vision. He's been battling, doing his drills. You've been there.
Exactly.
Well, listen, if I'm Josh Norris, the last thing I want to do is play in this game tonight with a bunch of AHL guys running around.
Okay, wait a second.
This isn't the right game to play.
So you couldn't play the first game because it was on the road. You couldn't play the second game because, maybe they would take a run at him. So the third game now isn't good enough talent level, and they might bump him. When is it okay for him to get bumped in
He's in next game.
Oh, my God.
He's in next game. That's what I'm
saying. So everybody else can play, just not him.
A celebration of Hockeyville, and it'll also be almost like being home in St. John's, home of the family. You'll be on the Rock in Sudbury, so he'll be up more of a comfort level. But I don't agree with this whole idea, though, Yorkie, to be honest with you, about younger players being in the lineup and trying to run them. Hey, man, this is a contact sport. I don't think the Rochester or Buffalo lineup would be looking that Norris is back in. He's been over the shoulder and
Let's get
maybe
him.
try to run him through the boards. So to me, hey, I would look at the competition level tonight. And if he was healthy, I would have said, hey, it's a perfect game. Get him in, get him some reps, get him some power play time. And the thing I want to see,
Exactly.
I want to see if that monster one-timer on the power play where he reaches through the ceiling, that's what I want to see as far as the range of motion. But like I said, it's such a mystery and it has everybody talking and that's to be expected.
Yeah, I'll start getting nervous if he hasn't played and we're at the last game. Then that's different. But right now,
yeah, because that's like another. When's the last preseason game? October the 5th, TJ?
there's
October the 5th.
okay, look. So after tonight, there's going to be 4 games. I say he plays in Hockeyville, then he probably plays against Montreal, then he takes Detroit off, then he plays again in the last game. 3 or 4.
3 games. Okay. Well,
yeah, like
you are the smartest man in hockey.
As soon as the show's over, I'm going to go on to Bet365 and lay down because I bet there's odds. I think that's how popular the Simmer surveys become. There's probably a line in Vegas right now because there won't be a line on this hockey game, but there's a line on how many preseason games Josh is going to play.
Imagine the odds maker trying to make a line on tonight's game. Like, how do you do that? Like, what do you?
That's
what do you
where they'd be
your
going to Hockey Database, right? Trying to figure out who the hell are these players.
Okay, so the Sens and Sabres at Bet365. Ottawa is plus 110 to win. Buffalo minus 130. Yeah, the over-under is 6 goals. Ottawa is minus 225 to win. Buffalo plus 185. It's a pretty good spread.
Yeah.
It's not the biggest, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, and reason to tune in tonight, I think for fans, is just the fascination and the love fest to just see Ullmark play. And I don't feel like this is a past injury situation with a Matt Murray where a guy's coming in and you're like, waning on every save. Hey, he had practiced on his own. He's 100%. He's ready to rock and roll. And even if it's only half of a game, just to feel some of that love and just a comfort level to actually see somebody make some saves and actually catch the ice hockey biscuit. I don't know what has happened the last couple of years here in Ottawa, but just watching him in practice technically and just the overall feel of his game, it's like comfort food for the Ottawa Center fan base. And so I think that's at least a reason tonight to hop in, have a little fun, and get the first look of him in an Ottawa Center's lineup.
Yeah, listening to, I heard, like, if you're a defenseman tonight too, how nice is that? Because the book on Ullmark is he's a huge communicator back there. He's always talking, like, just having, like, you're a young defenseman back there tonight. Like, Ottawa's got a lot of them dressed tonight. That's a nice feeling when you got Ullmark behind you talking to them, because guys like that, they make you feel comfortable, they make you relax. They'll throw a little joke in to you between whistles. So it's that 100% Simmer. This is I'm really. If I'm going to say one thing I'm interested in watching, I want to see this guy tonight. And
and via Wally Vision, and we watched him play a little bit with Boston. It's really neat to see his style. And if he's not quite as athletic as Shesterkin, but he uses those monster pads to close things out. And there is basically nothing when it comes to the 5-hole. He is technically very sound. He plays a little bit lower, not quite bum to the ice. But if you're going to beat this guy, you're going to have to pick the corners up top, because there is just absolutely, with that monster equipment that these guys wear these days, not to mention the natural size, there's nowhere else to beat them. I mean, that's kind of the fun part and the comforting part. And we know with time and space, Yorkie, that's the biggest thing. I mean, if you don't have time and space in the National Hockey League, it's hard to pick the corners. So if you're playing properly in front of him with what he brings as far as security and consistency, it should be a real good formula for the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, no, it should be. Like I said, it'll be interesting to finally see Ullmark, because that's what everybody's been waiting for. That was the biggest signing. That was the biggest move of the summer, and now he finally plays, and can have a look.
It was alluded to yesterday about how much he does talk and telling guys.
Yeah, no, he does.
The way or whatever.
It's one of the biggest and thing people don't talk about for the defenseman and goalie relationship. When you have a goalie that's vocal, and Simmer knows this because he played the position, I can see Simmer as a vocal guy back chatting it up, telling guys are coming. It makes such a difference. Like, when you get a quiet goalie, it is really tough. Or a goalie doesn't get the rim arounds, or he doesn't come out of his net. Oh my God. I used to give it to Tugger all the time. I still do. Tugnet never used to get the rim arounds. He would just like, it's going around. It's going around. I'm like, I know it's going around. You're going to get hit. I'm like,
yeah. And the communication to me is a sign of confidence, guys, because actually, Yorkie, to be honest with you, I was just okay, but I was dealing with so much nervous energy that when you have a guy back there like that, the other neat part, and this is a little secret here I'm going to break on the show, one of the things he's been doing with the defensemen is teaching them Swedish. So he doesn't talk in English during the game. Every command is in Swedish. So they've basically got Alfie working with him a little bit, and then they've ended up having him. So that's also something cool to watch. You got a combination of French, Swedish, English. We'll see. Hopefully that doesn't lead to any confusion. And a little Russian.
And you got Zub back there, doesn't speak. It's basically telepathic. He's doing telepathic stuff to the goaltender.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Before we go, I do have an update for you. We'll call it the bird feeder update.
Oh, nice.
This afternoon, I looked out, and lo and behold, there is a blue jay.
Oh, yeah.
No, but you got to look. He's on the ground, okay? So
what's he doing?
Because he's eating, because the squirrels dump all the bird seed on the ground so they can eat it, or chipmunks, I should say, and then the squirrels come and eat it. So he hasn't found the bird feeder yet, but he has found the bird seed on the ground. So I guess we'll call that baby steps. But there was a bird near the bird feeder today.
That's awesome. That's a sign the baseball season's almost over. And I don't know, some of the birds for some reason like to pull the food out and then eat off the ground, Wally. I don't know if that's anything, but that's actually a beautiful picture right there. You got everything going with the still photos, with the videos. Hey?
Oh, it's so good. So good.
I'm just trying to bring the best I can for the people. I'm a man of the people.
Let's be honest, on a day like today, based on the lineup, and we've exhausted most of the training camp stories other than Josh Norris, and now we'll find out on Zub. But the simple fact that we're approaching the 47th minute of what is actually on the plate, I think just speaks to the professionalism of the three of us, to be quite honest with you.
Well, and then you brought up everybody speaking a different language. So now I'm concerned that we've just lost the show completely.
Okay.
So, we'll be back Monday. There are more storylines. I was hoping to actually speak to a particular player today. They couldn't find him. So I don't want to say, I'm just going to.
Oh, it's a big secret. People are going to forget by Monday.
Well, I won't. So,
well, Coach Green is keeping secrets from Wally, so now Wally has his own secrets as he's walking around. Coach Green is going to be walking up to Wally and saying, "Who are you waiting to talk to?" That's the game you're playing. Hey, you want to play that game? I can play back.
I'm going to have to go watch Talladega Nights tonight now after Simmer's been talking about Ricky Bobby going fast. I want to go fast.
Such a good movie. If you're not first, you're last.
We actually, for Monday's show, if you could recite the Christmas, was it Christmas or Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving
prayer?
meal,
the meal that right Jesus. There. Hey, and poor Uncle Chip. Hey,
Uncle Chip.
Was he taking some abuse from the kids?
Grandpa
I just threw your war medals off the bridge.
Shut up, Chip. I'm raising winners here. These are winners.
And then there's the hospital scene. Now I got 2 knives in my leg. Like, oh my God. Yeah, it's a great movie.
Still the best. The best part of the movie is when what's his name is the magic man there. Ricky Bobby and the wife have been split up for a couple hours. He's already moved in the house.
They asked him how to fix the remote. How do you work the TV?
Wasn't the painting over the fireplace down already, or was there a new one?
It's a great movie. People don't, you know what? It won an Oscar for best movie ever made.
It did.
Yeah. Well, I know. Yeah, it's right up there as far as his classics. He's got 3 movies that I probably would watch no matter what if they're coming on. I would go Anchorman. I would go Elf. Has to be a little bit more seasonal, and then I'll go Talladega Nights. So those would probably be my top 3 if I'm talking about a Will Ferrell category.
Yeah, I got to throw an honorable mention to Old School in there with Frank the Tank.
God, that's good. Yeah, good point. The only movie I didn't like of his was the basketball movie. I thought that just didn't.
You didn't like Semi-Pro?
It was just okay. No. But Frank the Tank was great. Hey, had a little Snoop Dogg in there singing at the house. Hey,
Snoop-a-loop. Semi-Pro is, I think, it's quietly underrated with a little Woody Harrelson in there.
Were they playing out of Flint, Michigan?
They were. What was the name of the team in that one? I forget. I just remember him singing "Love Me Sexy" all the time. He had a little song there.
So the Buffalo Sabres dressed up as the entire team one year for Halloween. in semi-pro, if I'm not mistaken.
Because
I had a Craig Anderson picture of it somewhere. Anyway.
Okay. We're way off topic here.
Shocking. Oh, Blades of Glory is another one. Yeah. Must block.
Yeah, well, listen, you know what we're forgetting, guys? We're forgetting Step Brothers. Like, come on.
Oh, I mentioned it.
Oh, man. That was that's a classic right there. Even the dad in that movie is such a good character actor. But good. The way that they pulled that off as two adults, that very, very strong. Now I feel like I'm debating, do I watch the ice hockey match tonight? Or do I go and binge watch Will Ferrell? Hey?
He's pretty good. Anyway, okay, gentlemen.
All right.
Until we do this all again on Monday. All right. Great weekend. I'm off to Stansted College.
Okay. Enjoy.
Oh, nice. Is that up in Quebec, Wally?
Yeah, just on the border with, I believe it's Vermont.
Okay. Little Magog area, kind of in that area?
Yeah, but just below it. So it's like, I don't know, 20 minutes from Sherbrooke. Does that make sense? Something like that. Maybe it's 40 minutes to Sherbrooke.
Don't be too hard on Wally Jr. after the game there with Wally.
I haven't seen him. I don't know. You better step up.
Now, do you do filming when Ryan's playing and then do like break it down after the game
Wally
in the
Vision
hotel room? Hey?
You do, don't you? Oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. Come on.
You don't do that.
No,
I'm paying enough for him to go to the school. Just let the coaches handle him.
Well, what fun would that be? I take stills, and I take them of the whole team, about 3,000 a game of pictures, and then I go through them and break it down to like 100.
Jeez, you're a little psycho,
send them
aren't
out.
you?
Yeah, it allows me to not have to talk to anybody else. So.
Okay, yeah. That's a good idea. The old camera up and don't touch me, don't talk to me.
So you would be in the characters inside the arena. You would be known as Lone Wolf Dad. You're the lone wolf. You're up in the corner doing your thing.
Nope, at the glass taking photos.
Oh, you're at the glass. Well, at the glass is angry and bored Dad. He's the guy that's in the glass yelling.
Yeah, but that dad's always got like.
Oh, he's just scheming. He's so angry.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm having flashbacks of JR. That was his favorite term talking about minor hockey was the N-board dads. Hey?
Oh, yeah.
They had everything figured out for their own kid, for the coach, for everything.
Look at the coach. He's putting another kid on again.
That's right. Maximum 4. It can only be a maximum of 4 in that group. Then they got to go out at intermission and come back. Yeah. And then they got to stay in the offensive end every time.
And then those 4... And those 4 for sure have the pickup in the Sensplex parking lot, and they're having parking lot beers after.
That's intermissions. They're already.
And that's where you always tell you get the old man. I wish our kids could play together. And then you're talking to another kid, and you're like, I can't believe that kid's on the team. Hey? So that was always the conversation. Oh, I just wish they put our kids together.
So Ryan does go over the photos afterwards. I will, but we don't like. It's usually like foot positioning or something, but it's not like, oh, you didn't skate hard enough, or why didn't you back check, or I just let him see it so he can understand it. Stills are great.
Yeah.
They're just fun to have. So
are you similar to like the video of Mitch Marner's dad at the rink there? You ever see that video?
Isn't he yelling or something? I can't remember.
The whole time. It's
I don't say a word.
It's pretty crazy.
I don't say a word. I just take pictures. That's all I do. Nothing.
All right. Okay.
So I have had refs stop me though. I've been on the bench a couple times, and the ref's like, "Hey, are you Brent Wallace?" I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Oh, nice or whatever. I know I've seen you on TV." And I'm like, "Just remember, take it easy on number 12, okay? And I'll take a picture." But it never works. Never works.
Yeah. Well, have a great weekend and safe travels. Hopefully, it'll be fun watching you don't know much about this level of hockey other than it's pretty good prep school, right?
I watched a couple. He's already played 4 games, so I've seen him play already. On the TV. But it's good hockey. Like, Donovan Sabrango would have played somewhat in that league when he played at CIH. Drake Batherson played at OHA, so kind of the same environment.
Gotcha.
They're going to play Ridley this weekend, if you know Ridley School. So there's some talent.
That's good. Well, enjoy yourself, Wally, and we'll see you guys on Monday.
See you Monday. Take care.
Have a beauty weekend, Ottawa. Cheers.
Thanks for tuning in to Coming In Hot. If you enjoyed the show, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to never miss an episode.